Okay, we are live back on the Fondbites Bake Along 2.0, and this is the eighth recipe we are going to do, and I'm so excited for that because I'm just going to talk about a few things which I have been researching like years back, and I just never got to working on it again, which is about flavoring the batter itself. Okay, so let me wait for a few of you to join in, and then I just want to say hello, and then I want to talk about what we're going to do and why was it very important for me to include it as part of the eighth bake along. Okay, so hi to everybody who are joining in. Okay, so I'm just looking at the monitor to check who's joined in, but then that's how I connect with you, looking at the camera, so it looks like I'm looking at you guys. Okay, so today's recipe, as you've seen, the ingredients and the recipe card is being posted on both the Facebook and the Instagram pages. You could just keep it handy and save it as well. So what I'm going to do is the cream cheese cold oven pound cake. Okay, so that by itself, without the addition of blueberries itself, is a very delicate and a flavorful sponge. Okay, it's a pound cake which also has butter and the cream cheese, and it is very light. Okay, that by itself is like bestseller in any of the baking stalls, baker stalls or something, which I have seen years back, and it's like the bestseller, the sellout. The first one that gets sold out in a bake stall will be the cream cheese pound cake. Okay, so that is there something very important. I thought it is part of the earlier bake along as well, but I thought I have to just let the new followers and newbies who just come to know about me should be trying this out as the first thing. The second thing, I've just improvised that recipe to include blueberries in the batter itself. Now, there are times when you've been asked to make a strawberry cake or raspberry cake or a blueberry and different other flavors, right? Now, when you have to do that, the two things that you can think of how to flavor the cake is to maybe use a vanilla sponge, and then to use the blueberries in the form of dried or pureed or fresh, whatever is available, and then make the compote and then add it into the filling in different ways, like maybe it could be mixing it with white ganache or buttercream or whipped cream, or make a mousse, and different ways where you're going to use it in the filling. But the vanilla sponge is going to be vanilla, and then you're going to incorporate the flavors in the fillings is the most a common way in which we know to flavor, right? So sometimes there is a need when you have to flavor the sponge itself, right? Now how do we do that when there is like, I want the sponge itself blueberry, I want the sponge itself strawberry, the cake? So sometimes we are like, the only way that we can think of is to use artificial essences and then add gel colors, the corresponding gel colors into that, and to make it look like bluish purplish, and then have a blueberry essence added into the batter, and then call it blueberry cake. And that is something like a no to me. I do not advocate or even use artificial essences. I prefer using the natural ingredients, fresh or dried in, or pureed or frozen in all the different forms. Okay, so now should we just go on hunting for a blueberry cake recipe, strawberry cake recipe? Like, how much of the puree can you add into the batter? So when you're going to add that fruit puree into the batter, are we going to cut down on some of the liquid ingredients from the recipe? Like, I have one safe vanilla pound cake or vanilla butter cake recipe that really works for me, and how am I going to flavor it? And that is what I'm going to help you crack in this particular live, and I just can't wait to start. Okay, so let me just get into the recipe. The first thing that I'm going to do is, I have some fresh blueberries here. Okay, and they look beautiful. But depending on each variety that I get, sometimes they are like by itself very flavorful, and then sometimes they are maybe not as sweet. Okay, so this according to the recipe, I'm just going to add that in the mixer grinder, right? The small one, the small jar. So I'm just going to add in the blueberries first, and going to grind this and make a puree. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm working on strawberry I mean, sorry, blueberry compote. Okay, so I'm just going to go on a medium speed, going to grind it and then make a puree out of the blueberry. So it's okay to also have it a bit chunky. So, but then it's kind of nicely puree that you can see. I'm just going to remove this, and next thing that I want, I'm going to empty this into a saucepan. Okay, I'm just going to remove the mixer. I wouldn't be needing it now after this. So the next thing I need is a stove, an induction stove. Okay, and onto that, I'm just going to empty the contents from the mixer, right? So the blueberry puree is going into the saucepan. I'm going to empty all of it. So it's like, how am I going to use this and then mix it with um, cake batter, a sponge that I know is the best that I know is going to work for me. Like, this is not just about the um, cold oven cream cheese pound cake. It is also about, you could use this logic to any of your favorite vanilla cake. Okay, so I'm just going to switch this on and add the measured sugar for the compote. And then I also have lime juice that goes in. So I'm just going to cook this, and I'm going to let all the moisture, the water content from this puree with the sugar and the lime juice to reduce, and this will thicken now. Okay, so I'm keeping it on medium and letting this cook. And as you can see from this stage, you can see the color of the blueberry will coat the bottom of the saucepan, and it will become a thick paste. And once it cools down, it will even further go down and thicken up a bit after it's completely cooled down. So you start with making this compote, and this is the logic that you will be using for the rest of the other fruits as well. Like, whatever fruit you would want to flavor your cake batter with, this is the same process. First will be to make the compote, and the sugar could be adjusted. It doesn't have to be the exact measurement that is given for the blueberries here. Also, depending on the blueberries that are available to you, I did taste the result of uh, boiling the puree and then adding a tablespoon of sugar, and then after tasting, because this variety whatever I had got is not as sweet. So 2 tablespoons of sugar was needed to get that flavor I'm looking at from the blueberry compote. And that lemon, that sourness from the lemon is going to bring out the blueberries flavor even more. So any fruits that you're adding has just a lot of sweetness from the fruit itself. Adding a little bit of um, lime juice, maybe quarter teaspoon to a half teaspoon, will bring out the flavor of the blueberries itself. Okay, so you can see it is thickening up a bit, right? And I'm going to further continue to cook this. So because we are going to add this into the batter, but I'm just going to show you the technique in which I'm going to add this. I'm going to add this entirely into the batter and then mix it up. I'm going to show you how I'm going to add the fruit purees into the batter, so you can use the same logic to using your favorite vanilla sponge that you've been working on. And if you've not had a favorite recipe of that sort, then you could try this one out. But yeah, definitely you have to try out the this exact recipe which uses the cream cheese, and we are not preheating the oven at all, and that is the most exciting thing, that you're just going to wait and see the result. Okay, so you can see it is just thickened down, and you can see the bottom of the saucepan just coats the color of the blueberry, right? And you can see that it is no more a liquid that is just flowing out, but it is thickening. I just wait for maybe a minute or two more. Okay, so you can see that it is a paste now, and the bottom of the saucepan coats the color of the blueberry. So this is the stage where you can stop the cooking, okay, and allow it to cool down. Now I'm just going to switch off the stove and transfer this. You don't want to further cook it, okay? So transfer this into the bowl. And that will take its time to cool down. So now I'm just going to get the induction stove aside. So this I'm just going to keep it aside, and for the next step I just have the pan. The recipe says 7 inch. I'm going to use 8 inch, so I have more surface area, but then it is not going to be really very tall. So what we need is a 7 inch or an 8 inch. For 7 inch, you might be left over with a little batter that you might have to add it maybe in any of the muffin pans, right? So by the 8 inch, you can use up the entire batter, and that is what I'm going to do today. So butter and then flour, an 8 inch round cake pan, and I've also lined the bottom with butter paper, and this I'm going to set it aside. Like I said, do not preheat the oven, and so that is very important that you need to follow. Okay, so I have a bigger bowl and a sieve. Into that I'm going to add the flour, baking powder and salt, and then sieve and then set it aside. Okay, so this I'll keep it aside, and then I'm going to get the KitchenAid stand mixer. Okay, so I'm going to fit it with paddle, and to begin with I'm going to start with adding the butter. The measured butter goes into the bowl. You could also use a bowl and a handheld beater as well. And I'm going to start beating this on medium speed for about a minute until the butter becomes light. So this step is to just soften the butter. Into the butter, I'm going to add the vanilla and beat until the vanilla extract gets incorporated. So into the butter now I need to add the cream cheese. The brand that I have used is Delecta cream cheese. You could use any cream cheese, but just make sure that the carton says cream cheese and not anything that is like creamy cheese, and it's like a little confusing what you're going to buy. The brands that I know that are maybe readily available here is Britannia, and also the Philadelphia and the Delecta, which I know works good. Now I've added the cream cheese and I'm going to continue beating for a minute on medium speed until the cream cheese becomes lump free and gets incorporated fully with the butter. Okay, so now you can see the butter and the cream cheese is kind of nicely come together right here. So you can see how nicely. Okay, so it's just blended well, and so that is the stage we need to add the sugar. Okay, so I'm just adding all of the sugar now. And this stage is very important where I need to beat on medium high speed for about 5 to 7 minutes until the butter, cream cheese, and the sugar becomes pale, light, and creamy. Okay, so I'm just going to take it half the way in between to show how the texture looks. And from there, we also need to continue beating. Okay, so that's how it looks. It is quite flowy as well. Okay, so that is how it is looking, right? So now I'm going to continue beating this for another 3 to 4 minutes. Okay. So now this is kind of beaten well. You can see the colors just become very pale, and obviously the sugar is not going to get melted fully. So this is not the stage we're just going to look at having the sugar melted. There will be granules, but that is fine. You could just go on to the next step where we are going to add the eggs. So adding egg at this stage is also a very important step. You need to be adding the eggs one at a time and give enough time, which is about a minute, 1 minute for each egg. So I'm going to scrape down the sides and put the bowl back into the stand mixer and start adding the eggs one at a time and beat for about a minute after the each egg. So I have all the three eggs in a bowl. One egg goes in, and then I'm going to beat for a minute until that one egg gets completely incorporated. So now I'm going to add the second egg and beat for about 1 minute until that egg gets incorporated. Now second egg is gotten incorporated well. Now the last and the third egg also goes in and to beat for about a minute until that egg also gets incorporated. Now the eggs are incorporated. You can see at this stage it will be a runny batter. So not to worry. So I'm just going to take this out and then show the consistency what it looks like after the addition of all the three eggs. Okay, so that is how it is going to look. Quite runny at the stage. And what next we have will be addition of the flour. So flour I'm going to add it in two parts. Okay, so that's the measured flour that I have, and I'm going to add in the first half. Okay, and fold it gently so the dry flour doesn't splatter out. and then I'm just going to beat on very low speed. The first speed for about maybe 5 seconds only, because after this stage you're not supposed to overbeat, just until the flour gets incorporated. Few seconds on slow speed. Okay, so that's it on slow speed. Okay, now I'm just going to add the remaining flour. I'm just going to make sure all the flour goes in. I'm going to use the spatula to mix up and incorporate the dry flour first, and once it's all moistened up, let me scrape it down and again beat on slow speed for about 5 7 seconds. That's what I did last time, until you have a smooth batter, but do not overbeat. Okay, so now I have smooth batter. So it's very important that you do not overbeat at this stage. I'm just going to remove the paddle attachment. Okay, and remove this bowl out the KitchenAid. Now I don't need the stand mixer. I'm done with making the batter. Now, so that is how the batter looks so beautiful, silky, and also flowy. Okay. Okay, so now the most exciting part of this recipe is to incorporate blueberry, right? So here is what I have, the blueberry compote that we made, and it's almost cooled down to room temperature. Okay, so that is how it looks in room temperature. Okay, and now I'm going to add about um, I need the weighing scale. So I'm going to add about 50 grams of the batter in this compote. Now, why I cannot add the entire compote into the batter and then flavor this entire batter? Because the moisture content in this fruit will alter the structure of this cake with whatever batter that I have made. So I do not want to disturb this batter that I have made as a whole, which I'm sure is that perfect sponge that I'm going to get at the end of baking this particular batter. Okay, now so for that reason I have the blueberry compote that is made, and I'm going to take a portion of this batter and add it onto the compote and have a batter that has been flavored with a concentrated flavoring that I have. In this case, it's the blueberries. Okay, and then I'm going to layer the batter, the white batter, in the prepared cake pan in 2 layers. So first I'm going to add the white batter and then add portions of the concentrated flavored batter on top of the first layer, and then use a toothpick to swirl it around, and then another layer of the batter, and again use another portion of the colored batter, which is the blueberry concentrated colored batter, and then I'm going to swirl it around. What I am achieving by doing this is I am going to maintain the structure that I will have from the sponge by keeping this white batter as it is, and I am going to add the flavor into the batter by concentrating it to a smaller portion of the batter, and I'm not adding or mixing it with the entire batter. I am going to keep the flavors here and there, and that will not destroy the structure that will be formed from the original batter itself. And so the flavor will be mixed up. We will be having at the end a marble cake, but every bite will have the flavor that we have in this compote into the batter. So that is the most exciting thing. This you could use it in a lot of other places where you want to flavor the sponge itself, but you don't know how. Like you can't be going around hunting for recipe like I want a strawberry sponge, I want a caramel sponge. But you could do this process where you know this is your favorite recipe. This is like your mother recipe that you want to go for every time you want a vanilla cake. But so that will be the base recipe. You take a part of the batter and then add it into the flavoring element that you're making or you have, and use that to marble your cake, and that is going to flavor the entire cake. Though it is marbled, but the structure will not be destroyed because we are not changing the mother batter here. Okay, so let me use a weighing scale. I'm going to add 50. It's okay to be a little more than 50. There is 50 here, maybe a 60, right? So now I'm going to mix this up, and I'm making a concentrated batter with the compote that I made. Don't overmix, just cut and fold. Why I cannot use the, so the doubt could be like, why should I mix this batter here? Why can I not add this compote itself in the batter in the pan after pouring the entire pan there? The compote that you made will be heavier and it is going to sink the batter here. So in case I'm just going to add the batter and add the compote here, the weight of the compote will sink down the cake. To lighten the compote is why we are going to do this step by mixing the cake batter into the blueberry compote itself. So that's the prepared pan, and it's been buttered and floured, and the bottom also has a butter paper. On top of the butter paper again there is butter applied. Okay, so now first half of the batter goes in. Okay, now I'm going to level it up so once I've leveled this layer, I'm going to now drop tablespoons of the blueberry batter. So here's the blueberry batter. I'm going to do it in two layers. I'm going to not add them all in one place. Okay, and I'm going to use a toothpick. Okay, a simple toothpick or a skewer. Okay, and I'm going to swirl this out. Now don't over swirl. So you will just incorporate the blueberry batter into the entire vanilla flavored batter, right? But you don't want to keep the blueberry batter also like one whole portion as it is without being mixed up with the rest of the white. So when I know I've just evenly swirled it out, now on top of that I'm going to add the rest of the batter, the white batter. Okay, I'm just going to level this up gently. Okay, so now into this, I'm going to drop the remaining blueberry batter. Okay, so I've just emptied the blueberry batter. I'm going to use a toothpick. Now I'm just going to try not to go into the bottom layer of the batter into which we have already swirled out, right? So I'm going to hold this toothpick at an angle. So instead of just popping it down vertically, I'm just swirling by holding the toothpick at an angle. So I'll be disturbing only the top layer, swirling it up. Okay, so that looks also very beautiful at this stage. And now this is ready to go into the oven, on a oven that is not been preheating. So it's like you get to the habit of preheating the oven when you have to work on or bake, okay, but this time you have to resist the temptation to um, preheat, right? So do not preheat the oven, and this will go into the cold oven to get baked at 160 degree Celsius for about 40 minutes to about 45 minutes. It's going to take, because it's going to slowly rise and then come. So I'm just going to send this out to get baked, and I have an already baked one. I just did 2-3 hours before, so sending it out. And we also have to glaze it. Why I'm going to call it blueberry lime, blueberry lime, because lime is going to be the glaze. Okay, so here is the cake. Okay, so it's baked, and to transfer one more plate. So I'm just going to release. So that is the cake. Okay, so you can see that it is rised well. I'm just going to release the cake from the sides. Okay, so the lined butter paper, I'm just going to peel it. Then I'm going to put it the top side up. Okay, and then for the glaze, I have the icing sugar and lime juice. So, blueberry and lime are a beautiful combination that works together, especially when you're doing layered cakes, right? Now, that same flavor, if they get incorporated, say maybe on a travel cake like a tea cake, how beautiful that would be. So, this entire concept is to get two different flavors together in a cake. So instead of actually having layered cakes for the flavor, I mean, to have blueberries and lime together, is there an option that we could do that without flavoring the layers with a cream, a cake without having to add any cream, but to experience two flavors coming together? So this is what something You will have to look forward to doing combining different other elements together in a cake, where you could use dry tea cakes, travel cakes kind of a thing, where flavors are going to combine together like this. I'm going to work on more of such flavors, more of such concept in the future. And when I have more such ideas, I'm going to bring it out on the table here with you to bake together. Okay. So now for the glaze, I'm going to use the lime juice into the icing sugar and then combine it. So the lime for this icing sugar will just make it into a thick slimy mixture. For it to flow, you don't have to add more lime juice, because that could make it sour for the cake. But to enable it for flowing, you just need a few more drops of water. Okay, so a little at a time. You don't need to add a lot. Okay, otherwise it's just going to be too runny. I just added maybe a few drops. I'm going to check the consistency. Okay, so now this will be good for it to flow, but and also not become runny. Okay, now I'm just going to start pouring it. Let me start with the side. And I'm just going to add it on the top as well. I'm going to smear this out and let it drip on the sides. Okay, so the parts where it's still not dripped, I'm just going to spread it out. Okay, so now this looks good around. Okay, so this glaze will set. It's not going to be sticky or liquidy. It's going to set in room temperature. And then what we have are the fresh blueberries itself. Maybe you could also add, lime zest on top, or then you could maybe have cut lime, or you could also make candied um, lime peel, right? So I did mention 8 numbers, but then I'm using an 8-inch pan here, so I just need more blueberries. Okay, so just need more plate to cut this and then place. Okay, so now this is quite fresh. It's just been another plate, um, maybe an hour. Okay, that it was baked and it is out of the oven. So I'm just going to, I mean, it will be good if I allow the glaze to set but I'm just looking forward to checking out how the inside of the cake is going to be. So while the glaze is still not set, I'm just going to go in and then cut out a slice. Okay, so you can see how the the layers of the blueberries is just there, how you added, okay, in two layers. I just want to turn it around on this side. I'm also going to get the cake and show you how the blueberries have just gotten incorporated. Okay, and I also want to use a fork to just scoop this out and then show you. I'm also going to get the cake nearby to show how it looks on the inside. Okay, so you have the blueberries combined in the inside of. Okay, so I'm just waiting the camera to focus so I can show you how it looks like on the inside. Okay, so now I'm just going to have a fork and show you. Okay, so that's how super smooth, silky smooth this um, layer looks like. Okay, I'm just going to scoop out another one. You can see how light it is and how I'm just able to scoop. And you can see how the blueberries have just gotten incorporated in the batter. And this whole thing is going to taste like blueberry with the lime zest. That citrusy burst is just going to come from the glaze that we have added. I'm just going to show how this whole thing has come together. Like how we've used the fresh fruits to get incorporated into the batter and flavor the batter without changing the structure of the sponge. Okay, so you can see how light it is, and that is the texture of this sponge. But the addition of the blueberries has not changed the structure of the cake, but then you have blueberries coming out in every bite. Okay, so this is what we are looking at, and this you can do to any of your favorite vanilla batter. Mine is this cold oven cream cheese pound cake, and I also wanted the cold oven cream cheese pound cake too. Okay, so I just wanted to show the close up of these smaller bits of how the blueberry is there in every small bite. Okay, so I'm going to look into more doubts or if I have anything else that I could share to discuss about more flavors that we can just try and incorporate in this method. Okay, so let me see if there are more questions if are left unanswered. Few strawberries, will lime still go? Yes, for strawberries also lime goes. You can do that. Cake flour. Okay, there is a doubt on cake flour. Um, to make cake flour, you could do a Google to find out how to make cake flour at home or DIY cake flour. It is to take 1 cup of loosely packed all-purpose flour heads cut, put it in a bowl, and take loosely packed 2 tablespoons heads cut of the all-purpose flour and remove it from the measured all-purpose flour, 1 cup of all-purpose flour, and take a tablespoon heads cut of the corn flour and then add it into the all purpose flour from which you took away the 2 tablespoons of the flour. So it's nothing but 1 cup of all purpose flour minus 2 tablespoons of all purpose flour plus 2 tablespoons of corn flour. Sift it together, and that is cake flour. But from that, you have to measure again according to the recipe and then use it. So that's what is cake flour. What is the purpose of adding cream cheese in the recipe? This recipe itself is a cream cheese pound cake recipe. I wanted everybody to try this out because it is one of my favorite recipe. It is very light, delicate, and melts in the mouth with burst of flavors. You can also try that without the addition of blueberries. It's my favorite recipe, so I wanted to share that. You could also use this logic of incorporating the fruits, fresh fruits, by this method using any of your favorite vanilla cake batter as well. Egg substitute, not for this because I never had the time to try it out, so apologize for that for the in the first place. But this logic, this technique is very important. So you could use incorporating the fresh fruits into any of your favorite vanilla cake in case you're looking for egg substitutes. But those who could do it with the eggs, I suggest you try this cold oven cream cheese pound cake and follow the recipe exactly as I have shared. Can we make the compote with dry blueberries? Yes, you can use dry blueberries, but I suggest to first soak the dry blueberries in hot water. So boil some water and put the dry blueberries in it, cover it with a lid, and then allow it to seep through and become soft, say maybe about half an hour. And then remove off the water, and then by that time the dried blueberries would be very soft. And take the dried blueberries and then process it in the mixie, and that you will have a puree, and use that puree and make your compote with sugar and lime juice. Okay. um any more questions? I'm scrolling up to check. Even for mango, lime goes. Yes, for mango also lime goes, because say any fruit that is too sweet, to cut down on that too much of sweetness is where lime comes in picture, so we have balance of the flavor. So for mango also lime goes. Can we use frozen berries? Frozen berries also, yes, puree and then make a compote out of it. What other fruits can you use? You can use kiwi, you can use pineapple, um, dried fruits also you can do, like the apricots, fig, mango, then all these berry types, which are the raspberries, blackberries, blueberries, and all that. You can also do a caramel. And what else? I'm just thinking. Can you make it eggless? Eggless, yes, that is the answer that I've said. This particular cold oven cream cheese pound cake, I never had the time to try out the eggless, but you could use any of your favorite vanilla batter to use the technique of incorporating the fresh fruit to flavor the sponge itself. Um, any other questions? I'm just looking at and then scrolling. Grapes instead of berry compote. Grapes, yes. You can, so anything that you can make a puree out of the fruit, right? You process in the mixie and then you have a puree, and that obviously you can make a compote and then use. So now something that you cannot make a puree out, say maybe citrus fruits, the orange and the lime itself, then what can you do? You can make a curd, make an orange curd, and then you have a thick flavoring element. Instead of the blueberry compote, you could have an orange curd, and in that orange curd you could mix up the batter, little bit of the concentrated orange curd batter, and then you can flavor the entire batter with the orange curd batter. Okay. Eggless vanilla batter, how to incorporate cream cheese? I need to try it out. Like I said, cream cheese pound cake, I haven't tried out the eggless version, and once I try, maybe I could let you know. But right now, I'm not sure how to incorporate the cream cheese in the eggless vanilla batter. Can we keep half swirl batter in the fridge for 4 to 5 minutes to set and then add the next batch? You can do that. I didn't think of trying it. Maybe if that helps, but then it's not going to solidify, so it is just going to help you not damage that swirl that you have maybe done. You could try, there's no harm in it. Mm, why can't we add the concentrated batter to the entire white batter to make it like a pink sponge? I think I had explained that in the making process itself. You cannot do that because the water content, the water retention, each of the fruit is different. And the batter, the main batter, the mother batter that we make, we show that it has worked. And we have not had the time to research how much of moisture should I take it away from the sponge, the basic recipe. So I could add this entire extra content which has moisture and additional sweetness as well, right? So we have already added the right content of the sugar, the liquid that is needed in any of the batter. And now this additional thing, you cannot put it into that. So that is going to change the entire structure of the cake, and it is going to flatten out, and it's not going to have the right structure you were having when you baked it as a separate vanilla cake. To avoid destroying the structure that we know that our regular batter would give us, we are trying to hide the fact that we are going to add the flavored batter into the mother base batter. Which mode will you use to bake the cake in OTG? Um, the OTG has several modes. Is it like it is that way where you bake your cakes, right? Like any mode that you bake your cake. If in case you are complete beginner, then you have to look for, if it is and microwave, then I think you will have different um, methods, or could be frying or convection or then microwave and all that. But in OTG, according to me, it has temperature and the time, and then if there is fan or no fan or both rods and all that. To me, I suggest using both rods on, and with the temperature that every recipe calls in for. You could use fan, but you have to know that you have tried that out earlier, and you know that your oven is going to work with fan on or both rods on and give you a perfect sponge out, so you can continue using that mode. um Okay, so we have come to the end of the eighth week, right? So I'm looking forward to whoever has completed all 8 weeks, and you will be called as a consistent baker. And we are going to send across a physical fridge magnet to whoever is completed, and my team is having a note of all of you who have completed till date. Okay, so now I also have another important thing to talk to you. The Fondbites online cake decorating masterclass is that one master course that I have, which trains the bakers starting from the beginning level, where you begin with whipped cream ruffle cake, and it is an 8-month long course where you start from the basic, and then under the mentorship of me and other mentors who are trained by me will be part of the course, who will be assisting you 24/7. And we have about 15 to 16 cakes. We start with basics, and I'm going to train you to go on till making a wedding cake using fondant. There are a lot of other things, including sugar flowers, wafer paper flowers, buttercream flowers, and then a buttercream wedding cake, and then you have pointillism, and then palette knife, and a lot more. I'm going to play a short video where you are going to see the cakes that are made by my students of the previous batches. So in case you have to get trained in cake decorating, you could anytime count on me. And the batch is upcoming January 5th, and the registrations are going on. I thought I have to just talk about it because I felt it was very important for bakers to have your cakes beautifully decorated. And you can count on me, and I'm going to be your mentor for the rest of the 8 months, where I'll groom you to bake beautiful looking cakes as well, that tastes as good as what we've baked now. So can we have the video played? Okay, so this is a beautiful whipped cream ruffle cake, and we'll have the next, that is the first lesson that will be part of the FODMC, and the next one will be a scallop cake. That will be the whipped cream scallop cake. beautiful looking pastel colors of scallop cakes made using whipped cream on a cake in which the sharp edges are also done, and that is the edible print. You'll also know how to use edible print on a whipped cream sharp edged cake. And the fourth lesson is a very interesting one where you will learn how to do the round ganache sharp edges and then also make the rosettes using ganache on the cake. And then the next one is a technically strong one where you make sharp edges on a square cake with razor sharp edges like what you're seeing now. And then the next one will be portrait painting using buttercream. Like the students choose the images that they can do, and I guide them how to incorporate that on the cake by the blending the colors and then bringing a portrait into life. And the other next thing is that most exciting technique that everybody wants to learn, it's the pointillism, where the painting is just made using dots and the entire painting comes to life. And the next one is to go on with making the buttercream flowers. Each flower has been hand piped several times with a lot of practice and put on cupcakes where you have an array of beautiful buttercream flowers. And then students move on to making a buttercream wedding cake where students will be allowed to explore a lot of different techniques, where you see one of the students' cake where geode has been incorporated with rice paper sail. Even though it's not part of the course's curriculum, this has been included to help the students explore any technique that they want, and that I will help them to incorporate into it. It's a 3-tier beautiful buttercream wedding cake with geode and rice paper sail. Now moving on to fondant. Now although cream is gotten over, and then we have fondant where students learn how to model and make figurines, work on a different level of maybe armatures, like the tree that you're seeing there, which is made using the armature. And that's a ganashed cake which is being draped with fondant, and all the other elements have been incorporated. Some beautiful rabbits are made, and after which they move on to learning how to cut out the fondant 2D elements, and that's been placed on the cake. So it's a 2D fondant cake. And then we'll have the next lesson will be flowers. We move on to sugar flowers, and you can see the beautiful sugar flowers. Each of them have been handcrafted, verified by me at each of the step. And you will also move on to making the wafer paper flowers. And that's an array of beautiful wafer paper flowers made for Fondbites online cake decorating masterclass by one of the student of the previous batch. And students will also have assessments to do when they start with a basic ruffles cake, and where they come here when they can explore even Rice Krispie treats and a lot of other techniques. You can see how beautifully the dinosaur, cute dinosaur baby has been modeled, and it is kept on the cake, and it's been done with the guidance of the mentors and myself. And another beautiful cake you have, that's a sculpture, but depending on the skill set of each of the student, I guide them to push their limits and then come out with the best version of them. So this is done by one of the student of the present ongoing batch, where human sculpture itself is made using modeling chocolate, cake carving, and a lot of other techniques put together to come up with this beautiful cake. And the last lesson as part of this entire course will be a fun and wedding cake. So the previous batch students, what they've made is a deconstructed wedding cake. So instead of having a routine wedding cake with a 6 or 7 tiers, the students were challenged to make a deconstructed wedding cake where the wedding cakes are just kept separately and they are coordinated with a color scheme. So that will be their final lesson as part of the course. So everything put together is Fondbites online cake decorating masterclass for you. And I'm just talking about it here right now because I want to insist on why cake decorating is also important, because you eat through your eyes, right? So we also learn how to bake beautiful cakes that taste as good as it looks also. So to me, baking a cake that tastes great and decorating and presenting it has to have equal value and be very balanced. You cannot be a great cake artist and not be able to bake yummy cakes, but you cannot also bake just yummy cakes and not be able to decorate. According to me, there has to be an equal balance. So if you think that you can take my guidance to upgrade or upskill your cake decorating skills, do check out on Fondbites FODMC under the masterclasses, or do just ping me to talk about the FODMC I shortly call Fondbites online cake decorating masterclass. We have the registrations going. So looking forward to having a lifelong relationship starting from 5th January. And we'll have 8 months of time together where I'm going to guide you on cake decorating. Okay. So looking forward to the next bake along and catch you up with something exciting that I can bake and bring it to you so you could try and share your results with me. Like when you're going to bake this recipe, put it on the Fondbites Bake Along Facebook page or do it on Instagram and share it in your stories and tag Fondbites and also hashtag Fondbites Bake Along. And just we're going to track the 8 consistent bakers and send you your beautiful fridge magnet. It's going to reach you maybe this week. The moment you finish, we're going to have it shipped to you. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Signing out.